A long time ago, when the world was young, when only a few humans walked the world, one of the first was the man named Kintu, and he and his wife walked the great, vast, immense land of Africa. They sought for a home, a place to build. Now, in this early time, being one of the first humans, only love was in the heart of Kintu. The idea of lying or killing or being unkind would never be a thought that would cross his mind or his heart. And being that Africa was vast and immense, it took a while, but they were in no hurry to find a place. At last they came to a lake, and they named it Lake Uganda. And around this lake were high snow-capped mountains. Kintu drank from the lake and said, "This water is pure, and this air is good. We shall build here." And so, with them, they had a cow, a sheep, a pig, a goat, and a chicken. And they also had the roots of a banana tree and a sweet potato. And so they found the perfect spot, and they flattened it out to make their hut. They planted their sweet potato, and soon it grew into a bush, and many sweet potatoes it had. The banana root grew into banana tree, and green bananas hung. One chicken became two, two chickens became four, and four chickens became eight, and eight chickens became, that's right, 16. And the cows and the goats and the pigs also multiplied. And soon they had children, and those children multiplied. And as the years passed, they had grandchildren. And like them, their heart was full of love. They took care of one another. They were kind to each one of us, each one of them. No one ever said an ill word. No one ever lied. Truth was what they held. Now, Uganda Lake was big, and the mountains was large, and there was a wide valley. And as each family grew, they began to spread out around the valley. And each year they multiplied, until finally there was no more room. And with no more room, there was no more land to be had. And there were those sons who could not have land, and so they worked for others who did. And being that more people came, they had the same amount of food, but yet more mouths to feed. And pretty soon there were those with lots of food and those with little. And when you are hungry, evil thoughts begin to enter your mind. And people began to steal. And when they found that they could steal instead of work, they didn't want to work anymore. And people started to argue. And they started to complain. And they started to fight. Now some of the people went to Kintu and said, "Kintu, you are our ruler. You must pass laws to make sure that we are not hurting each other and stealing from one another." And Kintu said, "There is only one law that I bring, and that is the law of love. If people want to hurt themselves, it is because they do not know better, and I will teach them the ways of love. And he would go from hut to hut, talking to them about the ways of love, that all were relatives, and it was better to be kind. But soon the young people laughed at him and said, "You're just an old man. What do you know?" And people began to fight and fight more, and soon there was blood being spilt. Kintu did not like what he saw. Well, one day he was at his home and he heard this marching. And coming over out of the forest was a group of men. They were armed with spears and shields. And they said, "Kintu, we have come. We are your friends." "What do you mean?" said Kintu. "We have come to bring the law of love back to the people. And anybody who doesn't want to follow the law of love, we will kill them." "No," said Kintu. "You cannot kill in the name of love." "Yes, we can. We want to make sure that people will be loving each other, or we shall kill them." "No. Let me tell you about the law of love. The law of love is to be kind, is to treat each one as yourself." The leader said, "Go, we must go and fight the others who do not believe in the law of love. Go in the name of Kintu." "No," said Kintu. But they did not listen. And they went, and there was war. And pretty soon there were 12 tribes of rulers all fighting each other, saying that they were fighting in the name of Kintu. And this was too much for Kintu. He looked at his wife and said, "It is time to go. This land has become wicked. They have lost the law of love." And so they went and they got one cow, one pig, and one sheep, and one goat, and one chicken. They dug up a banana root, and they took one sweet potato, and they left. Now, pretty soon, rumors started going around that Kintu had gone. And people went, and they went to his house, and he was not there. And they yelled, "Kintu! Kintu! Where are you?" But there was no reply. "We have done this," they said amongst themselves. "Our wicked ways have drove him away." "True, it's indeed that is true, and it's because of you," said one group. "No, it's because of you. No, it's because of..." And they started to fight. And they fought and they fought and they destroyed their houses. They made children starve. They pretty much wiped out all that they had built out of war. Well, time passed. And those who tried to become the ruler that's taking the place of Kintu, there was only one left. And he thought about this law of love. Now, many of the rulers who had come before him, they made laws, hundreds of laws, saying this is what you shall do. If you don't, then you shall be killed. And all these things like that shall be punished. Well, this one ruler named Manda believed in the law of love. He thought of Kintu. And so he started to go around each day to see how people were feeling, how they were, if they had enough food to eat. He did not live in any big palace or anything that the other rulers did. He lived simply. And pretty soon, people started to follow him. And each day he crossed out another law, until finally there was only one law, the law of love. The people were happy. There was enough food. People took care of one another. Now, he was loved by his people and loved by his servants. And Manda loved to go out by himself in the hills to think about Kintu and the law of love. And the servant said, "Please, you must take us. There are wild animals out there." "No, it's okay." "At least take a spear," they said. So he took a spear out of love, and he would go walking around. But he did not know that the servants, out of love, followed him secretly to make sure he was safe. They felt bad that they were not being truthful, but out of love, they decided that being sneaky was okay. Well, one day Manda was walking, and he came to a forest, and he was thinking about Kintu, and he stepped into the forest, and there his jaw dropped. There, in the middle of an opening, was a man whose beard grew down to his waist, and there was an old woman next to him, and there was a cow, and a goat, and a sheep, and a chicken, and all these other wild animals around. Could it be? Could it be Kintu? And he went, and the lion that was there moved aside, and Kintu went down to his knees. Manda went down to his knees, and Kintu said, "No, no, stand up. Do not bow to me. You are Kintu." "Yes, I am Kintu. You have returned." "I perhaps have returned. I've heard there is good things happening in the Uganda Lake Valley again. Is it true that people do not lie anymore?" "It is true, Kintu." "Is it true that people do not kill each other?" "It is true, great Kintu. I have not seen anybody kill each other while I have been alive." "Is it true that people do not steal and they take care of one another?" "It is true." And just as he was saying this, Kintu's eyes looked over the shoulder of Manda, and saw something. "I thought you said that you were alone." I didn't really say I was alone, but yes, I am alone." "Why?" "Because there is someone following you." And he looked back, and he saw his servant, who was now standing up, having been seen. And all of a sudden this rage came to Manda, and without thinking, he threw his spear, because Kintu thought he was lying. And as soon as he let it go, he said, "No! What have I done?" And he rushed forward. But it was too late. The spear had found its mark, and the servant lay down in the grass. And Kintu went to him and said, "My dear servant, my friend, I am so sorry. I am so sorry." And the eyes of the servant twinkled, and he smiled. Love. And then he was no more. Tears came down Manda's face, and he turned around, and Kintu was gone. He went back carrying the body of his servant and told them, his people, what had happened. And it is said that someday, out of the great unknown, Kintu waits, so that the time comes for Uganda and all the places of Africa, when it comes to a time when people will only tell the truth, that kindness will reign, and everyone will teach each other the law of love, and Kintu will return.